This one was probably the toughest. It made just about all of us question what the heck we were doing. The wastewater treatment plant for half the city of San Francisco.
Do you love to travel?
Do you love road trips?
Do you love finding hidden treasures in towns all over the USA? Hi, I'm Joshua.
And I'm Craig. Welcome to Treasures of Our Town. It's the podcast that explores the unique and charming towns scattered throughout the United States.
Join us as we venture into some of the country's most intriguing destinations, uncovering hidden gems and local secrets along the way.
On today's episode, we're going to get We're going to get dirty with some dirty job Josh, what are we talking about? You did these show notes up, and then you said, Craig, I've done the show notes, and I've got someone coming on, and that's all you said to me. And I looked at this now, I'm like, what are you talking about? You're not really a dirty kind of guy normally. You're very
not normally.
Friendly.
Not normally. Yeah. Have you ever heard that Christina Aguilera song, Dirty?
Yes.
Yeah, it's not that kind of dirty.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, what am I doing here then? Like, you got my hopes up, mate.
Oh boy. Always pushing our non-explicit rating.
Oh, is that what it is? I don't think any children actually listen to this podcast anyway.
Yeah, but you never know.
This is true. They could be in the back seat while mum and dad listen to us in the front. But anyway, it is still a family-friendly show. What are you talking about, Josh?
I have been called, by the way, the Mr. Rogers of geocaching.
You are.
So
you are.
Or am I the Pee Wee Herman of geocaching?
Or a bit of A and a bit of B, I dare say. But
anyway. We're going to be talking to a special guest.
Yes.
I'm so excited.
Yes. I saw the name and I went, oh, Josh, how did you get this guy on our show?
Oh, because I got connections.
You do.
And the cool thing about this guest is he has connections, man. He has done some really cool things. Yeah. And, you know, when we were thinking about guests that we wanted to have on for season 2 of this podcast, I love talking to people that have been around. Yes. And this guy has been around in such a unique way, in, dare I say, a dirty way.
Oh, I see you're teasing it again. I'll say this, Josh. Last year, like we love voice as well. We love the voices. We love the good microphones. We love good quality audio. And I'll dare say as well, this guy has a voice. A voice for audio too. You wait to listen to his voice, and to me, his voice is just smooth as silk. It's like drinking a nice fine whiskey. Neat.
Yeah. He's from Hollywood.
He is.
All those people out in Hollywood, they just have high production value, and this is a high production guy.
Are you gonna bring it on? Who are we gonna say, or are you gonna leave it hanging for the time being?
Well, let's leave it hanging.
Leave it hanging.
And then once we bring him in to the conversation, we will do a full justice to a great introduction for him. Craig.
That sounds good, mate. That sounds good.
Craig.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. What? How have you been doing?
I've been busy.
Oh, I know. And I'm so jealous. I'm just going to say right now, I'm going to kind of, put myself down a little bit, but not really too much. I don't know if I'm qualified any longer compared to you.
Why?
To be leading a travel podcast, because one half of the hosting team of the Treasures of Our Town podcast actually travels. And when I say a lot, and he gets on planes and all of a sudden, oh, surprise, surprise, I got bumped to first class. I don't think you should be surprised anymore. It happens every time. Anyway,
first class
you've been around.
First class back. Yes, last weekend we're talking about, Josh. Last weekend I actually went down to Florida, Orlando, Florida as such as well. And you love this because you know what we're like with travelers as well, that I stayed 3 nights in Florida, did not stay in the same hotel for any more than a night each time. So we stayed in Melbourne on the first night, and then back to Apopka in the second night, and that's the other side of Orlando itself. And then the third night actually near Orlando Airport, because we had an early flight back. But the reason why I was there, well, we say before this podcast, it's guided. Our travels are guided by our love of location-based gaming. This time for me was Munsey. So there was a Munzie event hosted down there in Florida, in Orlando, Florida. And I thought to myself, well, why not? Well, actually, technically, my wife said to me, I'm going to take us to Orlando, Florida on this weekend for your birthday, Craig. And
love that.
And she said,
"Happy birthday, by the way."
Mate, thank you. And she said, and I said, "Oh, why Orlando, Florida?" She goes, "There's a Munzie event down there." So she said it. She brought it up.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, she's
fully converted.
She's fully converted. More converted than what I am, mate.
She's into it.
She's into it. Into it.
Munzie.
Yeah. Every day.
Exciting.
Every day. But the thing is, though, and like any other location-based game, it doesn't matter what it is, Munzie, Pokemon Go, geocaching, whatever it is, it gets you outside. It gets you breathing that fresh air, that sunshine, and I've seen a difference in her in terms of, she'll get up now and then she'll say to me before she starts work, she says, "I've got a half hour free. I'm going to go and do a Munzie run." So she gets in the car and literally drives around like in the big area. And then while she's out, she'll see another bouncer pop up and then she says to me, "Oh, do you want a coffee while I'm out?" Yeah, perfectly. You know what I mean? So it gets you out and about, Josh. And this is true. This is what I love about our location-based games. But
yeah, and a lot of times when I explain Munzie to people, I'm like, if I'm doing like the really short elevator pitch, like, "What are you doing?
Yeah.
What's my answer?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm just playing a location-based game. It's a walking game."
Yes, walking.
I say it's a walking game.
Absolutely.
I literally cap Munzies in my neighborhood, and my neighbors are like, "Why does he keep taking pictures of signs?"
Exactly. And the dogs are walking in front of him, looking back at him, and just going, "Come on, Dad, keep walking." But I will say this: enough of the Munzie talk to begin with, because as I was there for Munzie, but I've got to give a shout out as well. We always say things that, about areas where we've been to. Here is a hot tip for you, Josh. If you're in Orlando, Florida, in the western part of Orlando, Apopka, directly Apopka, there's a place called the Lake Apopka Wildlife Drive. Now, it's only open Friday, Saturday, and Sunday for 3 days. That's it. Only open those 3 days, but it's free. You got free entry. It's about an hour to 2 hour drive, depending how fast you want to go. You can stop and start. Great for photography. I took several photos. I actually took hundreds of photos there, but only 7 or so made them up on my on my list. But there's also a free audio tour that you can listen to in the car on the radio as you're driving around. It picks up where you are and actually pinpoints the next audio place. So there you go. And it's free.
That's really cool.
And it's free. And the wildlife there, stunning. Absolutely stunning. The bird life is impeccable. And then we did go first thing in the morning, so it's still a bit chilly for the gators, but I still did see a few gators. But yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So there you go.
I love that.
Lake Apopka Wildlife Drive.
That's a great tip. How close is that to the Naked Cache? Because that's on Western Orlando too.
I didn't even see that one.
Kissimmee something.
Yeah, it's near Kissimmee. I know it's near Kissimmee. Yeah. It's
the Naked Cache is right there. If you don't know what I'm talking about, there is a geocache that you can do naked. I didn't even get to the front gate. You get to the front gate and it says there's a little hanger and you hang your clothes there and you hike in. You hike into this land that apparently it's legal to be publicly naked there. And you walk to the geocache and you find the geocache naked and you have a little photo op where you hold the geocache strategically in front of you. And
it better not be a micro. It better not be a bison tube, just saying.
It isn't. It's an ammo can, okay?
That's good.
And I did it, but I actually have a video of it, and I was, I knew I was going to do it. And I was like, how do I make this family friendly? Well, you'll just have to watch the video. I'm going to put it. Let's put it in the show notes.
I'll put it in the show notes, mate.
But if you'd like to see, I'm putting in quotations.
Yeah.
If you'd like to see me do the naked quotations geocache, it's just delightful.
Family friendly and naked, Josh, isn't in the same
family friendly.
Sort of
I actually more. You couldn't get any more naked.
Oh.
I'm like extremely naked. It's like more than like you couldn't even be any more naked when you see the video. It'll make sense. No,
it'll make sense when you see the video.
Those are off. You must see the video.
You must watch the video.
Yes.
Okay. I'll go and watch the video. I do remember it. I know what you're talking about, but yeah.
So also what happened yesterday in the United States, this is a travel thing.
It is,
Craig.
It is.
I don't know about you, man, but I had serious FOMO.
Not so much for me.
You didn't?
No.
I watched the social media of our friend Shorty Knits, Jessie Brown. She went down to Southern Illinois to see the totality of the eclipse. And it was amazing. Just the pictures. I can't imagine what it would be like in person.
Yeah, well, I did see not a good friend of mine, but a good guy, Peter McKinnon. He's actually Canadian, and I follow him on all his YouTube and Instagram and stuff as well. He teamed up with Red Bull Canada. Did you see that photo, Josh?
No.
Okay, so he teamed up with Red Bull Canada, and they've months of planning this, right? He got a shot, and it's no AI, no edits at all. He got a shot of the 2 Red Bull planes going overhead with the.
Yes,
you've seen that? Did you see it?
I saw it on your social media.
Yes, yeah. So he got that.
That was really cool.
And the reason for it is because that's the Red Bull logo is the sun. You see, with the bulls on each side. So it actually, so it goes from there.
Yeah, we'll have to put that in the show notes as well. That was a really great shot.
That was great.
And here's the thing that's interesting. The next time it comes through the United States in a significant way, the full solar eclipse, it's going to be 20 years from now.
Yeah, yeah. If you want to see if you want to see it in 2025, you can, but you got to go to Greenland.
I know, but get this, Craig, 2026. Guess where it's going through?
Where?
I just saw it today.
Yeah.
Good old Sydney, Australia.
Oh, it is.
2026. That would be an awesome trip.
Yeah, imagine that.
An awesome time to go. But just when I'm nervous about the eclipse, these poor people that have been planning, seeing this solar eclipse in totality. That's what I mean.
Yeah.
For years, and then they show up and it's cloudy.
Yes, I know.
So
the only eclipse that I saw in totality, Josh, was in my bathtub itself, and it was my foot sticking out from the puddle. So that's my totality. Just saying.
And we will not be sharing that on our social media. It's on your social media, but it's not going to be in our show.
It's on my
notes.
personal social media. That's what.
Wow, that sounds kind of like you were really dirty in that tub. So
true.
I think we should move on. Speaking of getting dirty, Craig, it is time to get dirty. And I know you've been just waiting. You're like, what do you mean, Josh? This is not an explicit rating podcast.
Nope. Family friendly.
Well, we've got our friend here who, in his past, he has been dirty in the past. He is a prolific geocacher. Geocaching has brought him, dare I say, all over the world. And he is also was the executive producer of the show Dirty Jobs. How cool is that?
With Mike Rowe.
Yes, we have with us Dave Barsky. Dave, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you for that intro. And actually, I'm feeling kind of like a proud papa today. My brother-in-law, I know that sounds weird, papa, brother-in-law, but my brother-in-law, who I introduced to geocaching, just found his 100th find. 1,000th find.
Nice,
mate. Nice. You are a proud papa then. I know.
He logged a webcam on Cape Cod, Massachusetts, and I've gotten that webcam. I actually did 3 webcams in one day. There's 3 webcams at least in Massachusetts still right now. So and he did it, and that's awesome. So yeah, he's pretty well indoctrinated, man. He's an addict.
Nice. You introduced him to geocaching.
Oh yeah.
So what's your secret? What made it stick for him?
I don't know. Maybe in part my enthusiasm for the game. Maybe he just likes getting out and hiking it like I do. That's one of the things. I'm not sure he had a lot of hobbies in the first place. He's a hardworking guy, but he really digs it. We've done all kinds of geocaching since. It's been a few years now, and we've been on hikes. We've been did easy urban caches when we had to. I don't know if we've ever done an adventure lab together, but I know he's done a bunch. He takes my sister out too. She's not into it like he is, but she'll still go along for the ride. I got that with my wife too, so I get it.
That's fair enough, mate. How did you actually get into geocaching yourself then?
Well, it's funny. We're going to talk primarily about a TV show I worked on before I got into geocaching, but I did discover geocaching while researching an aspect of another television show I worked on after Dirty Jobs. I did a show called Expedition Unknown, which was also on Discovery Channel. And I was preparing for a show about Columbus, Christopher Columbus. There's some controversy of where his bones may be buried.
Oh yes,
where his and and we kind of traced where they may be, all over. This is all over the Atlantic, really. Dominican Republic, Portugal, and Spain, and sometimes what we have to do for these shows, since I don't know, the subject matter took place a couple hundred years ago or so, we have to do reenactments.
Yeah.
And I was researching coins that were possibly minted around the Columbus era. And in doing so, just Googled Columbus coins. Something came up, Columbus geocoin. And I'm like, what the heck's a geocoin?
Wow.
I had no idea. And then I dove into that, and then I found geocaching. I immediately went to the website of geocaching, and I saw the little intro video that they do. And I swear to God, I probably was 10 minutes later, I signed up for a premium account.
Wow.
I said, this is for me. So, and funny thing is, that was on let me see, that was June 25th, 2015.
Mm-hmm.
And on June 29th, while waiting for my ride to get to the airport to fly to Portugal, I actually got a Starbucks, and halfway between Starbucks and my house, there was a geocache on the app, and that was my first find.
With the Starbucks in hand. Wow.
Yeah. And I got to say, though, it's the cool, one of the cooler things about my introduction is so I went to the airport right there, so I had one geocache, but the next day in Portugal, I found my second.
Oh my gosh.
And 2 days later in Spain, I found my third. So my first three geocaches,
wow,
I found in 3 different countries in a matter of 1 week.
Wow.
I don't think a lot of people can make that claim to fame.
No.
Have you tried to create a challenge cache around that first 3 geocaches in 3 different countries?
Yeah, the challenge cache rules nowadays, man, I don't know if they'd even allow it.
That would not get approved for sure. They would say that is not doable. That makes no sense.
Yeah. One person qualifies. That's you. That's it. So
yeah, exactly. That's just it. Well, there might be a few in Europe who do. I don't know. Where there was closer proximity with countries, but you never know. But I'm sure they still wouldn't do it.
No.
Well, we're going to primarily talk to you about some of your travels in the United States, because that is the sort of premise of this podcast. However, you mentioned Portugal, you mentioned Spain. Where has geocaching taken you around the world? What are some of your favorite locations that you have actually found geocaches in?
We want to talk around the world, or
I want to talk around the world right now, but then we'll go to US soon enough. But let's talk outside of the US. Where has it brought you that you're just like, wow, I can't believe I've found a geocache here?
It's funny, as far as outside of the US, I would say, my job brings me around the world, and then I find geocaches on the job for the most part. I've been a few countries, that I've definitely, I just had vacations in when I'm able to geocache more. Last year, my wife and I went to Ireland, and then we went to Iceland. I got Europe's first, of course. It was like the second day in Ireland. Hey, guess what, honey? We're going to drive an hour or so and do this cool hike. But I was working on another TV show back in I think it was 2016. So it was a year later that I actually went to 12 countries in 51 days.
Wow.
And I got at least one geocache in every one of those countries. And I think, it's kind of funny. It's like, you'd be wandering around and say, I wonder if there's a geocache nearby, if I had a break in filming or something like that. And in Switzerland, I was on top of a mountain because we were going to do this thing about hang gliding off the Alps. Okay. And we went up there, but we went all the way to the top. And the snowpack was too heavy to jump from a hang glide and just get a running start. It was like literally 2 feet deep. And we're trudging through the snow and we're assessing it. And we're like, all right, we can't do this. We have to go lower down on the mountain, which is still fine because the Alps are, really tall. And so, but before we got back down on the gondola, I just said, I wonder if there's a geocache up there. And I wonder if I could even find it. And sure enough, I opened the app. I got reception on the top of this mountain because I guess, just for, all the other tourists who might go up there or whatever, skiing. And there's an earth cache I'm standing right on. Luckily, it wasn't under the snow. It was in the valley below where there's this 22-mile glacier.
Nice.
And that was cool.
That's really cool. And as we all know, Josh, as well, like Earth caches, for instance, as well, they're one of the best types of caches or virtuals to find when you're with other muggles or other people that you don't know about geocaching, like work friends or other friends as well, because you can literally say, oh, I just need to take a selfie here with this glacier, which is a normal practice for people who travel, and unbeknownst to them, that you're actually logging a full Earth cache. So that's really cool.
Which is good for not bothering them about doing a location-based game. However, if you want to introduce somebody to a location-based game, they're like, "What? You're doing science homework? How is that fun?"
Guys, I've got to count how many fence posts are along this line here for a second. Hang on.
I love Earth caches. So they get, a lot of people, sometimes avoid them because there is a little extra work to do. But I'm sorry. I like to learn. I like to learn about the places I go, whether it's history or geology. And a lot of the times, guess what? They are intertwined, history and geology. And I try to do an Earth cache in every country I go to, in every state I go to. I will never pass up a good death.
I think Dave as well, because obviously I follow you on your social media pages and stuff as well. And you go out a lot with what's his? I can't think of his name now. It's just off the top of my head.
Gas Station Tuna.
Gas Station Tuna.
What a great geocaching name.
He has got one of the smoothest voices I have ever heard in my entire life.
Craig.
I know.
Another California dude.
That's what it is.
They all have great voices.
That's what it is. But
have you heard Fu Manchu's voice?
Yeah,
that's in charge of. Yeah. Amazing voice.
True.
It's just these California performers.
That's what it is. It's performer. But I don't see Gas Station.
Oh, come on.
Performer. Jeez. GST is not a performer. Anyway, Dave, what I was saying is that I see a lot of yours on your social media. You do a lot, man. You do a lot of webcams. And if people don't understand geocaching itself, webcams are very unique, and they're very they're rare nowadays too. I mean, there's not that many around, Dave.
Dropping like flies, unfortunately. I do like the visual aspect of it, and I do like the fact that they are so rare. In fact, especially back during the pandemic, when air travel wasn't so cool to do, and I like traveling. I like taking long road trips, and I went to visit my mom a couple times in the first couple years of the pandemic, and I literally planned my road trips around where the webcams were.
I love that.
I think I got 60 something logged now.
Wow.
And a lot of them, it's only been 4 years 2 years since I got a couple of them. They're already disappearing. I took my mom on a 7-hour drive just to get a webcam once. It was great. When my wife and I were in the south of Poland for a vacation, this is 2018. I just said, they had a geocache on top of the mountain, which we never got to because the clouds were rolling and a storm was rolling, so we didn't. But I was like, I wonder if there's new webcams down here. And sure enough,
wow.
4 hours away in Slovakia, there was.
Yes.
But you know what? I couldn't convince my wife to make that 8-hour round trip just to get go to some small village.
So you
probably didn't
you
even
dropped
have a
her off. You dropped her off in the hotel, and then you were gone for 8 hours. Is that what you're saying? Well, Dave, apart from that, though, what do you think would be your favorite thing though about geocaching in general? What's your number one? What's your go-to, mate? What's so good about it in your mind?
Well, listen, I like to hike too. I just like getting out, and I've heard it so many times. I said it independently before I heard it, but I don't care if it's a cliche. I love the places it takes me.
Yeah,
I just do.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if too many people say that. I don't care. I am who I am.
Mm-hmm. And there's a reason why they say it, because it's absolutely true. So there you go.
It's pretty much the premise of this podcast. So we are on the same page.
Yeah, we are
with you.
Great.
Well, you are a geocacher, but it is pretty cool that you have been the executive producer of many television shows, namely Dirty Jobs, but also you named Expedition Unknown, Straight Up Steve Austin.
Oh, yes.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And maybe not as many people know about this, but I watched this show on Netflix, Slobby's World.
Oh my God, you did? It's so funny. That's another one. Like the one that took me to to Europe, as I mentioned, was a magic show, and and at the time there was a boom for digital stuff back in the mid to late, you know, 2010s, and they started on that show that the magician went with around Europe. He actually that was for Red Bull. Red Bull was going to have their own TV platform digitally. That lasted a year, as did the Slavies World one. That was for another whole digital platform that since, but everything ends up in Netflix somehow.
Right, it lands
or Hulu as well. I mean,
yeah, true.
And
just
for everyone's information as well, if you're listening to this itself, well, after you finish listening to this, if you want more information, everything's going to be in the show notes. Yep, Dave Barsky, I've put you, mate, your what do you call it?
IMDb.
Your IMDb links in there as well, mate. And also you can watch everything, all these dirty jobs on Hulu too, apparently. So
Dirty Jobs. I mean, listen, we stopped filming the initial run of the show in 2012, and it's still around. It's crazy.
It's popular.
It's popular.
So Dirty Jobs went for about 9 seasons, and then did you have some bonus episodes that it's considered like the 10th season?
Well, I think technically it ran as a series from 2005 to 2012.
Okay.
And the way they break up seasons is sometimes so random sometimes. So I think it was actually considered to be about 9. And what a lot of these online things like IMDb and others say is just like not always completely accurate. So I don't know what they say. I don't know who does that stuff anyways, but I'm just like, there must be a bunch of elves that just sit there and put IMDb because I've never added anything to my IMDb.
You can change your own, Dave. You can actually update your own.
Yeah, I just never bothered to do it. but yeah, so it ran for about, it was a solid 7 years working on it for sure. And there's some in between we had these like bonus episodes where we call them repacks, where we just took highlights or behind the scenes footage and just shot interstitial intros to all that stuff.
Fascinating. So the premise of the show, if people don't know the premise of the show, first of all, where have you been? You need to catch up. You're you're almost like 20 years behind here.
We've seen this even in Australia, Josh, just saying.
Right.
Yeah.
So the premise of the show, just so everybody's on the same page, Mike Rowe would basically go to a community and experience a quote unquote dirty job, sort of a blue collar working tough job, often involved I caught up on some, often involved usually something fishy or some sort of poop or something disgusting. And basically the premise is Mike does this job, discovers it, and basically shows, wow, this was a lot more difficult than he expected. And would that be a pretty good premise of
Josh as well? It's not just that, it's also it's disgusting to one of your senses, whether it be a sight, a smell, or a touch, feel as well. So that's the other sort of thing. You got to involve all the senses too. But is that sort of, are we on the money there, Dave, or what?
Yeah, that's a good part of it. I'd like to say that I think it was more of an homage to the hardworking people that really. We like to say the intro of the show says doing the jobs that make life civilized for the rest of us. And we started really playing with with the concept of dirt itself, like what's dirty, what's hard, what's just maybe mundane but very essential to keeping us alive as humans, even if it's making chocolate. I mean,
right.
We had some fun ones like that too. But it's funny, going back to what you're saying initially, Josh, about poop and all that stuff. We had a saying, feces from every species.
Was that the working title before you landed on Dirty Jobs?
Not quite, but it kind of evolved into that.
Well, Dave, you said you've got it in the show notes as well. The first one down, we're going to talk about 8 to 10 of your favorite ones itself. And the first one you've written down was down east in Maine. It's lobstering and hagfish fishing.
Yeah, it's you guys asked me to select certain areas of the country. And, I started writing these things down. I'm like, a lot of them have to do with food, and I guess I like food, but I guess I like I like the areas where there's good food, and I like the the jobs that feature food. And I'm a New Englander. I grew up in suburban Boston. I still call myself a Bostonian, although I've now lived in Southern California for more longer than I've ever lived in Boston. Down east is a term that a lot of people don't quite know. Maybe unless you're from the area, it's ironically it's the northern coast of Maine. It's down east. I think it came from the Acadians, which were settled the area. The French Acadians who settled the area of Canada and part of Maine, and so parts of Newfoundland are also considered down east. But it's the southern coastal part. So a lot of that will, of course, involve maritime jobs and fishing. And I like going back home, and about to start. I kind of, once we really got the show going and stuff like that, I tried to make sure I was home for the home opener of the New England Patriots whenever I could go. So I made sure we scheduled some jobs in September or so.
Perfect.
So, and Maine was, a place where there's a lot of cool jobs like this. So, we did lobstering on the Harrington River in down East Maine, and it's just it's a lot of fun. A lot of the dirty part. A lot of that is chumming, and you got to cut up some rotten bait to attract the lobsters to the lobster pond. And you go out in a boat and you throw them. These aren't big boats. Lobster boats are smaller boats, especially if you're on a calmer river, which we were for the most. It's a big river, but it's just a lot of fun to get out there on the water and eat a lot of lobster afterwards when we're done.
I'm sure.
But it's a beautiful, pure part of the country. Coastal Maine, I got to say, Maine is probably my favorite state.
Really?
Oh, there you go. Yeah. There's a tip.
I've never been. Have you been, Craig, to Maine?
No, not Maine. No.
Oh,
if I go,
I got to get up there.
If I go up to the northeast, that'll be my main reason. Just saying. Anyway,
I
did see. I've got to chuck it in every now and then, Dave. I did see that on a follow-up episode as well after that one, and Mike talks about how the people involved here in the show itself, the actual hard-working people, do get some sort of notoriety out of it. And when you're in Maine, you had two of the young guys, the fishermen there itself, and they, the first people asked Josh. They asked all these letters come through from all these women saying, "Are these free? Are they rich? Are they willing to take on other people?" Blah blah blah. So yeah. So it's just the notoriety of the actual people around these hardworking, Americans as well, which is really cool too. So.
I was gonna say, a lot of times, it's at that point it was a popular television show, and even when it got more popular, the reruns, people would contact these businesses, and those were two, strong, strapping, good-looking young brothers, and everybody was, they got a lot of attention from the ladies for sure. Absolutely, good guys, absolutely hardworking, and a lot of people really appreciate that, in a human, and I'm glad that they do.
And if we're talking about the same episode, which I think we are, those kids, I'm going to call them kids. They were 19 and 17, and they owned the boat.
Yep.
That's just
and not just one boat, Josh. There was several boats that they actually owned as well.
Yeah. Wow. That's what I was like. Oh man, what am I doing wrong? But again, I get to hang out. It made me want to be a lobsterman too. And I just want to say though, again, Maine is one of my favorite places, and again, I love seafood. And we also did some softer stuff, a little bit more south of down east in one of the most beautiful towns in coastal Maine called Rockport. And we did blueberry pie making with these three little old ladies, man, and they were a hoot, and they were a big hit too, actually. But you did mention hag fishing, which I put down, and a lot of people don't know.
What's that?
Nobody knows what a hagfish kind of is. It's like this slime eel. They call them slime eels for colloquially, and you got to go. So they are fished for food, and they primarily go to the Korean market. They're not popular at all in the U.S. But they, we literally got on, not a huge boat. It was probably twice the size of the lobster boat, but it's not one of these, big, crab boats you see on Deadliest Catch or something like that.
Yeah.
But honest to God, we left at 5 a.m. and we were out for 16 hours because we just to get where the hagfish are, we had to go, I think at least a 6-hour drive, out in the ocean. And let me tell you something. Those things are nasty. I mean, the thing they call them slime eels because when they get excited or scared, they produce slime like nobody's business. And so, of course, when they're they're caught in a net, and you bring them up, and you throw them on the deck. They're disgusting. So
Gross.
The fishermen aren't dumb. They just put them in a big barrel and they get rid of some of the slime, but they bring it back to a processing plant back on shore where, a lot of they got a whole like this giant, slide where they dump the barrels of slime fish. I'm talking about, big oil barrels, the size of oil barrels out on this thing. And there's just a row of people who grab an eel. And what they do is they stick their hand in the middle of it and swirl it around to coagulate all the slime in one ball and just throw it in a barrel next to them. And then they send the cleaner fish, into another barrel so it can be processed further for the market.
Wow.
That's just insane.
So, Dave, I mean, you show after show, it's just one stinky, disgusting, slimy thing. Not always. You mentioned sometimes there's chocolate.
Yeah. Not often.
Most of them are pretty, like, I have a pretty bad, like, gag reflex. Like, I smell something, I can't even handle it. What are you just like through all these experiences, just like iron tough, like, or was there anything that you're just like, wow, this goes beyond my level of tolerance for disgustingness?
I compared to most people I know, I do have quite a strong stomach. Nothing really ever. When I was younger, maggots and things used to bother me. But by the time I got the dirty jobs, not so much. And maybe we'll talk about that later because we did do other jobs in other parts of the country. Surrounded maggots. However, we did have, a lot of incidents, let's say. I mean, we had a couple cameramen puke, even on the water, sometimes, when you're around, slime eels and you're on unstable ocean or whatever, or even a bay, we had one of our cameramen puked in Monterey Bay once. We were harvesting kelp for abalone out there and, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, there was, when people ask me this, my mind unfortunately goes to one particular thing. It was fairly early on. I think it was like the second year of the show in San Francisco, believe it or not. We went there often, but this one was probably the toughest. It made just about all of us question what the heck we were doing.
Oh my God.
The wastewater treatment plant for half the city of San Francisco.
Oh.
Well, yeah, I'm telling you, man. Here's the thing. It's fully automated. We just need maintenance guys. There's like 3 maintenance guys who go around in a golf cart making sure everything's cool and stuff, and they flicking switches. But if one of the giant pumps breaks down, and someone has to lower they lower a hook down on it from a crane. But someone has to go into the chamber to attach the hook to the top of the pump so they can lift it out and repair it. There's these 3 giant pumps in a tank that is probably 45 feet high, and the pumps are just about 30 feet high or something like that. And what you have to do is they drain out all the water and whatever other liquids are in there. However, all the solids are still in there. And they're not quite so solid. I mean, look at this is everybody's flushed down the toilet. But so you literally have to get in this chamber. It's literally one of those submarine doors, where you have to open it up with a circular, unlocking device. But then you have to get it open because it's hard because there's so much human waste in there. And so you got to take a giant hose and squirt away the human waste so you can get the door open, and that's on the other side. So, and it's splashing everywhere, all over us. And then, but the thing of it is, that was pretty scary because a couple times there was so much gas there. We had to exit the chamber twice. Oh, because, we did have gas masks on, but it was so, it was so bad, they had, gas, warnings, gas detectors. Wow. We ran out of there twice. But, once it got, unfortunately, once they cleared it enough and the gas was clear enough, you get in there. But the only thing they have, because they don't go often, they just throw down 2x4s to walk on over a literal sea of crap.
Oh, my gosh. So Dave, are you just like in these moments, are you holding the camera? Are you like down there with a camera?
Yeah, depending on the situation and how big the space is. Yeah, I was basically the third cameraman. We had two real cameramen doing the job. I've never called myself a cameraman, but I've shot second camera and third camera from a lot of the shows that I've done. Like that one in Europe, there was just two of us. But yeah, and that one, I wasn't at that point yet. We didn't have a third camera. We only had two. So I just stood around and I stupidly though I went in there because it's my job to figure what's going, and I have to direct things and make sure everything's going. I'm doing my job, but I literally threw out every single article of clothing that night that I wore.
Oh, I'm sure. I can't imagine.
Directing though, Dave, were you like, Mike, just pop down there and pick up that piece of corn?
Yeah, I mean, the show itself, it was great because Mike was so natural and so good, and he didn't require a lot of directing at all. I mean, he really knows how to hold a conversation, and that's basically we used to call it. It's basically a talk show in a sewer. That's basically what Dirty Jobs was. But there were things like that. You're right, Craig. I would just hey, I'd like off like he'd see me point to something that he knew it was worth talking about if you see me point, and then he'd just pick it up and play with it and figure it out what it was and ask what it was, and it was it was that kind of stuff. We had we had a real early on the whole crew really jived really early, and we had signals we'd throw to the cameramen so it wouldn't disturb the people in front of us, and we just got it, and that's one of the reasons why it worked so well and lasted so long.
Josh, I did see as well, I did watch one of them in Hawaii, of all places, Dave, as well. And this is a show whereby, and forgive me if I'm incorrect, but as an executive producer, you're normally supposed to be just behind the scenes, just producing, and that's it. But because it's such a small crew, as you said before, you pick up a camera here and there, you do some direction, whatever. But you're also in front of camera as well. And this one I'm talking about on the Big Island, Hawaii. Mike starts off this episode, just to get you premise too, just if you haven't seen it. He starts off the episode and he's pouring coffee because this is a coffee episode.
I saw that.
He's pouring the coffee, and he's in like a nice little, like a Hugh Hefner sort of style sort of shirt. And then when he gets the coffee, he's handing the coffee to all the crew, so the camera guys and Dave, you're sitting there, mate, and you're in your Hugh Hefner best as well, even with a Texan cowboy hat on in the middle of Hawaii. And so what my question for you though is that how often did you guys actually get involved and get on air on the actual show itself physically?
Well, one of the things I always told the cameraman, first of all, when we started, was never turn off the camera. I don't care if you got to put it down or whatever, put it in a place, you got to rest your shoulder, whatever, put it in a place where you can still shoot whatever action is. Just put it on a wide shot, let it roll. Because we had some unique stuff going on and you never know what would happen. Even if it was like, something that, an accident happened that wasn't us, it's all could be potentially good footage that could yield story. And, but when we started airing, a lot of people were like, well, geez, if Mike's getting this dirty, how dirty is the camera crew getting? So, and Mike was like, we gotta start putting you guys on the show more.
I love
so that. We just kind of started doing that, and at the end, a lot of shows we'd have what we call a call to tape, and where we'd ask people to send in their dirty job. Hey, send in videos of your dirty job, or just write us a letter or whatever, and maybe we'll come and visit you. And we started putting the crew in those, and then it just became, oh my God, our cameraman Doug just fell into a pile of dead fish heads. And let's just roll on that. And Mike would just riff on them for 5 minutes. And that would be content that we just integrated seamlessly into the show.
That's
great.
I
love it. Love it.
All right. So I just want to let everybody know where we've been now so far, because we're kind of jumping around here.
We're jumping around.
We started in Maine, lobstering, hagfish. Then we went down to, San Francisco, California, sewer inspection, waste treatment plant. And let's just say, I've never been to San Francisco. I've heard it's a great place. The sewer, maybe not a place to visit, but San Francisco, the San Francisco treat. Come on, there's something. It's got to be lovely there.
Yeah, well, we're waiting for you, Craig, to crack those jokes.
Yeah.
I'm not going political, mate. I'm just saying San Francisco. I've been to San Francisco several times, and I will say this: the places I did go to, like Pier 9 with the big seals
Pier
that
39.
come up and 39. Sorry, 39. Pier 9's in Australia. Pier 39. That was great. And again, there's a webcam there too, Dave, as you know. But also, Josh, as well. I think it's America's sort of windiest road that goes all the way up.
Oh, cool.
It's used a lot as well in different movies and whatnot too. So yeah, the world's windiest road goes up there too. I can't even think
Lombard
of the
Street.
Lombard Street, that's the one, Dave. Thank you. Yeah, Lombard Street. Yeah, I've walked up Lombard Street, and yes, there's a cache on the bottom and the top as well. So there you go.
So let's jump over. We've already started to talk about the Big Island of Hawaii. I'm just curious, Dave, as you're scouting these locations, are you kind of like Adam Sandler where he films all his movies in Hawaii so he can just like hang out in Hawaii?
Well, I mean, I did tell you, I'd end up in New England every September just so I could see the Patriots.
True. Yeah,
so it's kind of like that. Yeah. But Hawaii, no, that wasn't, we went to Hawaii twice during the show. The first time was for the Big Island in 2005. It was one of our earliest, I think it was for the second season. And we shot 4 jobs there, I believe. And I will say this. One of in my position as I became my title became executive producer, but I started off as the field director, and I was always the field director, even though I had a different title. But in my job, I usually had to fly out earlier to scout all these things and just get an idea of what the story was, what the job was, what kind of things we can have Mike do and learn about. And so, the Big Island High is a big place, and I needed a whole weekend out there, and my wife happened to come out with me for the scouting, and so we had a great time in Hawaii. Granted, we went to the Big Thunder Mountain Coffee, and we met those people. She came to all the scouts with me, and learned a lot about things. But that's one of the best parts of my position on the show. I got to go earlier and check things out, enjoy these cities a little bit. Because sometimes I'd go to a city, I'd go to wherever I had to go, and it'd only be an hour scout. Usually I tell them it's 2 to 3, but sometimes I get it and it's fun. Right. But you never know what's going to happen the day of, and then I can enjoy the city before anybody else gets there.
So in the Big Island of Hawaii, you mentioned a volcanologist. Is that even a real word? A volcanologist. Is that a real word?
Yes, it is. It's the study of
because Google is like spell checking it here. Oh, okay, there we go.
Maybe I typoed it when I put it on there. I don't know.
But you should know, Josh. You do Earth caches. You should know what a volcanologist
I know, right?
Is. Yeah.
So I'm assuming this is somebody that studies volcanoes.
Yeah.
So how is that a dirty job? How is that tough?
It's more of a hard job, and the main reason is the heat. I mean, it's hard to get close to lava. I mean, one of the greatest things about the show is we had access to so many cool places that nobody ever sees. Yeah. I mean, it's just crazy. A lot of TV shows get that, but we got to meet real people who did them, and so anyways, you go. There's an active lava field on the Big Island, and it's so amazing, and it's great. You go there and you see where streets used to be and where they end, and there's just black lava around it. And there's a signpost knocked over that's burnt up, and so we had to walk out onto the black crusted lava, and even that though, when you get closer to where it's actually coming out of whatever hole it's still open, I think a couple of the soles of our shoes literally melted on the cooled lava, supposedly the cooled lava. But even if you're wearing a protective suit, which the volcanologist and Mike donned that day, and what they had to do is they actually took this giant thermometer and stuck it into the molten lava where it was coming out to see how hot it was, and that gives an idea of how it's flowing. And there's all kinds of sciencey things that I still don't even remember. But yeah, it's very hard to do just because it's hard to get close to something so damn hot.
Sounds very sweaty.
Yeah,
that's for sure. Dave, have you been to all the islands in Hawaii? Have you seen?
No, I've only been to Kauai twice. We actually went to Kauai for Dirty Job as well. I've been to the the Big Island, of course, and I've been to
Oahu.
Oahu. I have not been to Maui though.
Okay.
And I've not
Cool.
been to Lanai, and I think there's probably one other I'm forgetting. But anyway, there's a lot of little ones.
What's your favorite island in Hawaii that you've been to?
Yeah, that's tough. Honestly, I got to say it's the Big Island, and I think that's one of the reasons why I chose to talk about this on the show, because it's kind of underrated. It's got it's touristy things minimally, because a cruise ship will go in there to Kona. It's also got some. It's got the Four Seasons, but I just like the really remote parts of the north part of the island. Really enjoyed that. We stayed up there, my wife and I, when we were traveling around, just to do it. We went on little hikes and all that kind of stuff. Hilo, I didn't spend a lot of time in Hilo. I think we stayed over there for the show. And probably when I was scouting, though, I stayed in different hotels with my wife when we scouted. But I just love it because it's got so much, and it's got a couple webcams on it as well that I have not gotten. That's
what
the real tragedy of my career is. I didn't start caching until 2015.
Yes.
And our show ended, Dirty Jobs anyway, ended in 2012. And we went to every state at least once for Dirty Jobs.
Wow.
And I was not a geocacher during that time.
Yeah.
Oh, it's painful.
Absolutely painful.
You have to pay your own way now. That's bad.
Yeah. Or find another TV show, which,
this is true.
Which I've also done. So
I visited Hawaii, I think 5 months before I found my first geocache. So
Josh.
Yeah. But darn, shucks. I have to go back to Hawaii.
This is true.
I know.
This is true.
I got to get those webcams there on the Big Island. There's only 3 states I have not found a geocache in at this point. So I still Alaska and Hawaii. In Alaska, I've been to umpteen times too for the show and for vacation or visiting. I've been so many times. But also my third state that I have not yet found a geocache, believe it or not, is Washington State. I have not found.
Really?
That is my last one.
Really?
What? I know. It's kind of
what?
I've been there so many times. And
Seattle, like that's the home.
I know.
You haven't even been to HQ.
I know. I haven't.
That's a travesty.
Okay.
Wow.
I know.
Wow.
However,
Wow.
I got it figured out, guys. I got it figured out. I like to get different icons for my geocaching milestones. I am at 18 and change right now for finds. I am going to make my 20th, my 20,000 find HQ.
Mm-hmm. Oh, there we go.
I thought you were going to say ape cache.
No, I'll probably get that along. Yeah, that's tougher, but I mean, I don't know. I think I'll probably get it during that trip. That'll be 20,001.
There, or you could save your 30,000 for the ape cache in Brazil.
Oh, God, that's what I might do. Although my wife and I almost took a vacation down there last year. We went to Ireland and Iceland instead, but who knows? I don't know if I can wait that long to get the other ape cache. No, in fact, I'm definitely gonna. I told a former guest you had on the show, Annie Love, that I was going to make my 20th thousandth HQ, and she said, "Oh, it's great. Let me know. We'll have a event for you and everything." And I was like, I can't wait.
I was about to say, make sure you let them know because they'll host an event for you, or they'll give you a cake or something. Especially you're Dave Barsky, exactly. I mean, one thing they won't do though, Dave, they won't make you actually clean up some horse poop. Just saying. Because I'm looking at the show notes now, and we're talking about, is it Mackinac Island?
No,
it's Mackinac.
Not even. Nope.
What is it?
It's Mackinac. That's
Mackinac.
Island.
Mackinac Island.
Mackinac Island is a very special place, and it was featured in a movie called Somewhere in Time, starring Christopher Reeve.
Oh yeah.
Because they do not allow cars on the island, and people get around on bicycles and they get around on horse-drawn carts, and somebody's going to clean up the poop from the horses that walk around all day.
Wow.
More so than they do, because I know in New York City, obviously, they go around and around and around New York City there itself, but they've all got bags already tied to the backsides of poor things. But that's
they haven't found that technology in Mackinac for some reason yet. It's a great place. I love it there.
So that's funny because I think I saw a different episode about collecting horse poop, but this was like there was an episode where there was something attached to the horse and they were collecting the poop and the urine. And there's a scene where he's like turning like opening up something in the urine, just like it was disgusting.
Yes, it was. That was the thoroughbred episode we did in Kentucky.
Oh,
yeah,
wow,
yeah.
Josh, I hope people aren't listening to this and sort of literally heaving in their cars as they're driving to work. Just saying, but anyway,
throwing up in their mouth.
Exactly.
If it's any consolation, horse poop and cow poop are the easiest poops to deal with.
This is true.
They have kind of a sweet smell, they say.
Yeah. Oh God, I don't know if I should tell this story, but
go on.
We did a dairy farm in Pennsylvania once, and it was like in January, and it was literally 0 degrees outside, and it was stone cold, and we're shooting in this dairy, and there's cows all over the place, and obviously, but I got to tell you something. It was so cold, and we just we'd wear to protect ourselves from the muck. We just put those fireman boots on, right? But we didn't think about how thin those boots really are, so you can move. My toes were freezing. My feet were freezing. But you know what's warm? Whenever I saw a cow going to the bathroom, especially peeing, I would run over to it and put my feet under it because it was so darn warming. It was great. Also, I would have got frostbite that day. So cow urine saved my toe.
There you go. And you're covered anyway. It's not as if they're going on your bare skin, That's
yeah.
So
and I tell you,
those boots.
I've been to the state fair. When cows pee, I mean, it's not like a trickle, man.
Oh no!
It's a lot of
a fire hose.
It's a fire hose, exactly.
That's great.
I thought you were going to talk about something about the actual, the actual cow pats themselves being like big ice pucks out in the field, but
no,
but they stay warm on the inside as well. Just saying, they stay warm on the inside too. So,
but Mackinac is awesome because another thing we did. They have this beautiful bridge up there that spans the lower peninsula of Michigan into the upper peninsula, and then it's the Mackinac Bridge. They call it the Mighty Mac. And they do lots of cool maintenance on there. And we had, again, one of those great things that, you have so cool access that nobody gets to see. They have to do a lot of things like change light bulbs on the top of the bridge sometimes. And they got to crawl into the pylons and scrape out rust. And these are tight spaces. That's another aspect of dirty jobs that we featured a lot, is how impossible it is to move, to do these very hard jobs sometimes. When we went into that, we were on top of that bridge, and it was just spectacular. I mean, it was one of the coolest things we've ever done. And and again, Mackinac Island was so cool. We became friends with a bunch of people there. Like the owner of the Grand Hotel, and also a woman who owned a salon there. I'm still friends with. And in fact, we used to. You asked Josh if there's things you just scheduled because you like to go to Hawaii. We looked for reasons to go back to Mackinac Island. And when we went back a couple times, and it's, again, I told you about, sometimes we'd have these specials and we just show old footage or, behind the scenes stuff. We went to film there just for one of those shows once, and it was outstanding. And unfortunately, I got myself in a little bit of trouble. I decided to, my friend was a salon owner, as I said, and I volunteered to do chest hair waxing as a segment. And
I remember this one.
It was. I don't recommend it. I almost passed out twice. It was so painful. So painful.
Oh my gosh!
And yet people do it all the time. Like not just chest, but other areas of their bodies as well. Just saying.
So this is fascinating. So Mackinac Island is actually almost smack dab right between the upper and lower peninsula.
That is correct.
Of Michigan. It's basically in Lake Huron, pretty much, it looks like. Is that right?
Yes. And the cool thing, I mean, again, there's no cars allowed, but there's a nice little town there. But all around the circumference of the island, there's a trail where you can ride your bike, and you can take the horse-drawn carriage. My wife and I did that. And of course, I've looked at it since I've been, and there's geocaches all along the trail, the entire
of course there
it would be.
So I got another reason to go back.
Exactly.
And you only get there by boat, is that right? Or
boat or plane? There's a
boat or plane.
Very small private planes can go in there as well.
Very cool.
There you go. Very cool. There's a place to put on your bucket list, Josh.
Yeah,
not necessarily to actually clean up the horse poop, but anyway.
No. But you got to avoid it.
There could be worse things like sewers in San Francisco.
Oh yes,
this is true. Or maggots, Josh, as well. Maggots.
Yeah. Let's move on. We got to kind of move here. We
do.
Here's the deal. Then we got 3 more, and then I would, Dave put 2 places that are very close to our hearts.
Yes.
I would like, if Dave has time, I would love to record those as a special bonus feature for our patrons. What do we think of that?
Good. That sounds perfect. That sounds
okay.
Perfect. If you want to hear them, you're listening to this now and think, oh, what are they going to talk about? You got to join the Patreon. That's all we just say.
There you go.
All right, Josh. Speaking of maggots, we're going to move on to the maggot one.
We're going to a beautiful state, a state that I've been, and that is in Idaho. The notes say this: locomotive building. Sounds like a tough job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maybe not maybe dirty. I don't know. But the one that sticks out to me, we've talked about already, maggot farming.
Yeah.
I like the last one, Josh, sticks out more for me. The bird suet maker and bug breeder.
Oh, yeah. Which also involves magnets. Definitely.
But I was going to say, that involves the maggots
a lot
as well.
Of maggots in Idaho, though I agree. It is one of my favorite states. It is so beautiful. Oh my God, the mountains there, the plains there, everything is so great. And that's one of the reasons why I put it down. It's not just because the dirty jobs were so interesting, and they were, but I just I don't think enough people talk about Idaho and how beautiful it is. I mean, this, of course, Sun Valley skiing and all that kind of stuff. But up in the God, I don't know, stovepipe top part of Idaho, we went to just outside of Bonner's Ferry for the first time we went to Idaho, and there's a guy who actually breeds maggots for fishing. Fishing, yeah. It's fishing bait, man.
Yeah.
Ew.
Yeah.
And it's just got these rows and rows of carcasses of fish carcasses, and the flies lay eggs in them, and they feed on the desiccated remains of whatever animal you happen to put in there. But
so how did you go? Wow. How did you go, Dave? Knowing you are now past history after about half an hour ago, when you said that the worst thing you could remember was maggots back in your childhood sort of days. How did you go with this one? That's the case.
Like I said, I think by that time, my stomach grew a little stronger. I think I've actually eaten, maggots since that time. So, yeah. But the tough thing about it was the stench of the place and the heat of the place. First of all, he had heat lamps inside, and you had all these really disgusting, desiccated animal parts in there and fish parts, and it was also the what they produced was very ammonia, flavor. So flavor, yeah. Sometimes you did taste it.
Tasty.
It was that thing. So that was very tough to deal with, the heat in there inside this barn.
And it's like one of those places where when you were in the sewer in San Francisco, you're like, you got gas masks on. But I'm sure in a place like this is normal life for them. They're like, it's just like what it is.
100%. I mean, there's a lot of places where like that. They just they come accustomed to what whatever they have to deal with in their job. And one of the interesting things I thought about the maggot farm was to make the maggots more attractive to the fish, he put red food coloring on some of the food so that he produced like pink and red maggots, so the fish would see them.
Fascinating.
Cool. Put them on your hook.
More expensive, Josh. The pink maggots and red maggots are more expensive.
the
upgraded maggots. Yeah, they're the you get 75% chance of actually hooking a fish with a red maggot than what you do a white one. So there you go.
All right, let's go to the next one, Craig.
Next one. Well, that's the case. Then we're going to go. We're going to stay on the fishy subject, Josh, and we're going to talk about one of my personal delicacies, oyster farming. Now, you look at this oyster farming, you think oyster farming. That's not going to be that dirty job. Oyster farming. I mean, let's be honest. It's hard. The shucking of oysters is quite difficult, but oyster farming, Dave.
Yeah, it's very interesting. And part of the reason why I picked this again was maybe the location in South Carolina, a place called Shem Creek, which is outside of Charleston. again, I'd go out and scout these things before the crew, and this was sort of earlier. This is one of the earlier ones we did, like the first season. And I got to tell you, I discovered this little place right on the creek called Reds. And man, I love oysters too. I love all kinds of seafood, and again, a lot of the things that I'm talking about today are seafood related, like lobsters. But yeah, and it's just there's some. I'm not a big fan of humidity and heat, but I got to tell you, at night you got that warm caress of the sun, um, sunset, and the humidity that you can just sit and relax and drink your favorite beverage at any establishment, including your own porch, and it just feels wonderful to be alive. And that's one of those places that I really found this place called Reds. It was right off the road, right on the creek, and they for like literally $10, you get a giant bucket of oysters, and there's probably at least 20 oysters in this thing.
Wow!
And the first night I went there, I ate the whole thing myself easily. And the thing of it was a type of oyster I've never had before. I'm not talking about the variety. I mean, they were big as my palm. They were huge.
Yeah.
They weren't, the smaller ones. They were big as my palm. And the way they prepare them there, they steam them. And which I've never had before. And it was so amazing. The way they steam them is they take a wet piece of burlap, like a burlap sack. They take a wet piece of it, and they in an open fire, they put a steel plate. They dump the oysters in the burlap sack and envelop them, and they just steam them in the wet sack, and they are so delicious. And every 50th one, there'll be a crab, a little baby crab inside of it. And you pop that in your mouth, and it bursts in your mouth. It was like a delicacy. It was delicious.
Josh, I in one of my recent trips, I went down to the peninsula of Virginia, and again, I stopped there. I stopped at one of the places because it's an adventure lab. And I've never had this before, but you guys have here, or they had in Virginia, the deep fried oysters.
Oh, yeah.
As well. And they were divine. They were really, really good. And you know what they say, Dave, about the oysters and stuff, how they were a strong aphrodisiac.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't swallow them fast enough, you get a stiff neck. But anyway, we're going to move on.
Oh, God. Before we move on. So Shem Creek, I did a little research. It sounds pretty wonderful. You can actually, there's outfitters along this creek that you can rent paddleboards, kayaks, and you can literally paddle through the creek, encounter wildlife, birds, dolphins in the creek. That's fascinating. And occasionally you can encounter manatees throughout this Shem Creek. So it sounds like a really lovely place to be.
Yeah, Shem Creek, South Carolina.
I enjoyed every night I went to Reds, that's for sure.
All right, we're going down. We're going to end this, but again, patrons, you get L extra a little bit here. Exactly. Tarpon Springs, Florida.
Yeah, I wanted to pick out another place. Again, it's coastal environment, so there's a lot of great seafood.
Yeah, I'm catching a trend here with the coastal.
I love the water. Like I said, Maine is my favorite state. I'd love to live in coastal Maine. I love the seafood there. The job we did there wasn't so much a food-based aquatic thing, but it was very unique. Tarpon Springs is mostly famous for its Greek population. And there's lots of great Greek food there, that's for sure. We had that in spades, but I've heard of it before the show. A band I really like, a heavy metal band from the 80s, is from Tarpon Springs, believe it or not, a band called Sabotage, and I've heard of it. So I was like, oh man, in fact, unfortunately, one of the guitarists passed away on the highway there, and they named the highway after him. He had an accident, some drunk driver hit him, something tragically, but and he came from a big Greek family there as well. But they farm sponges from the bottom of the bay there, and they don't carve them up and make them all nice and pretty. So one of those raw amorphous sponges that are really nice and abrasive that people like to use for exfoliation. And it was just a fun little day on a boat. And you dive in fairly shallow water, depending on how where you have to be, and you walk on the bottom and just pick up the sponges off, and then they dry them out in the shore. But it's a great little town, and I'd highly recommend going. It's of course, again, a nice place just to relax with your favorite beverage and have some great food.
And that's
great.
That's not too far away from Tampa. It's north of St. Peter's.
No, just north.
St. Petersburg. Very, very cool. Well, here's another thing that's special about you, Dave. Right now, as we speak, you are planning. You are a part of planning not one, but 2 geocaching mega events. One is coming up very soon, and that is Spring Fling on May the 4th in Los Angeles, right outside. It's the park that's right by Dodger Stadium. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, you get a great view of the stadium right from the top of where we have the mega.
I've seen the pictures and I'm like, I've got to make it to Spring Fling. I've heard great things about it. Can you tell us anything about this year that people should make it a priority to get there?
Well, there's a couple things. First of all, it's on May the 4th, and we all know what that's supposed to be, Star Wars Day. Although that's not real Star Wars Day. I'm a huge the original trilogy fan, and I grew up with I had action figures when I was a kid. I saw it in the theater on my 7th birthday.
Wow.
And it was so amazing. But anyways, May the 4th is now Star Wars Day, and we're going to have a lot of fun Star Wars themed things there. It's such a great interactive social mega. It's not like it's very interesting. It's kind of a more local thing, but though we've had some people come from out of the country, out of state, good contingent from Arizona. So it's still sort of local, but it's you get to meet so many great people. And this year we're going to have, Josh went on another podcast earlier this week, and he hinted to Josh Fu Manchu, our fearless leader. He hinted to something that's never been done before in a mega, some big surprise that I am privy to and I'm part of, and I can't tell you anymore. But there's going to be some very special guests.
Now this is coming out, Dave, April 15th. So okay, I'll back
off. So you're going to want to be there for a lot of reasons this year, including that thing I can't talk about and the guests that'll be there to talk about.
What I've heard about this event is that they have a lot of fun things to do during the event, games and activities. I think gadget caches. Of course, there'll be Adventure Lab.
Yeah, nobody leaves.
Yeah,
nobody leaves. Cool. It's amazing. Sometimes you go to a mega and they'll do a couple things. You'll sign the log and you'll go off caching. There's just so much to do to keep you there. It's insane. Like the first year we had it, we're like, wow. Everybody's staying. It's kind of crazy.
That's what happens though when you actually make a mega event on one day, whereby literally, you need to stay. Otherwise, you're going to miss out. If you want to come earlier or stay later to do caching around the area, by all means. But that one day, stay on site. I like it, Dave. I like it.
So I would love to attend. Probably not this year because probably not because 3 weeks later. We will be in Flagstaff, Arizona. Both me, Craig, and you, Dave. We'll be together.
Yeah,
I can't wait to see you guys again.
Last time we were together, Dave, we'll say, I just talked to Josh before the show as well. We're in Yuma, mate. Remember in Yuma?
Yeah.
And we saw you doing the cucaracha as you were coming back across from Mexico with your margaritas. You had several margaritas.
You reminded me of that because I don't remember.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say you had several margaritas and several ladies with you as well. I don't know where they were from. I don't know where they've been now, but anyway. I'm joking.
That's a joke.
Yes, joke for everyone out there. But yes, where are we going now, Josh? Where are we going? You just mentioned it before.
We're going to Flagstaff for the I call it the Super Bowl of geocaching, which is Geo Woodstock 20. It's a big one.
It's a big one.
Big anniversary. I'm so excited. I've never been to Flagstaff. Greg, we're getting on a train. We got dome car seats, and we're taking a train to the Grand Canyon.
Nice.
It's gonna be. I'm just very excited. And Dave, you are a part of the planning team. For that.
Yeah. My crazy friends who do Spring Fling actually are hosting Geo Woodstock in Flagstaff. Fu Manchu Josh, he was hosting 3 weeks later, another mega, one of the biggest on the map. And I literally, when that was announced, I saw that on social media. I texted him. I was like, dude, are you freaking insane?
Wow.
But if anyone can pull it off, he can. And the team, Sharebear 64 and Photomom, who are the three, the leaders, are great. And yeah, I'm involved in that as well. Unfortunately, I'm probably not going to get to take that train ride. I'm going to be so busy, getting everything together for the mega. It's going to be my first year in Woodstock. I can't believe it.
Wow.
What?
Yeah.
Another
I've just
mind
been
blown.
busy. I'm just very, very busy sometimes.
Josh,
most of the time.
you said we've got a prolific geocacher on, yet here he is. He hasn't been to HQ. He hasn't been to a Geo Woodstock yet.
Yeah, I'm going to be in a heavy way this year. I'll tell you that, though. And it just occurs to me every time we get together, the three of us, it's only in Arizona. What's going on with that?
This is true. This is true. Although you and I, Dave, when I first met you, remember that was in California, mate.
Yeah, that was right.
Went out for beers afterwards and caching afterwards as well after an event. That was pretty cool. In 2018,
really fun.
that was
that
fun,
was 2018. My goodness.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Josh, do you have any announcements to make for us?
You know what? I can actually make announcements.
Yeah, we can. We can.
I don't have any secrets in my life.
No.
At all. So this is an official announcement for all you fans out there of the Treasures of Our Town podcast.
Or just listeners, one of the two.
Yeah. We're going to be at Geo Woodstock. And at 2:00 on the main 2 p.m. on the main stage, we are doing a live Treasures of Our Town podcast on the main stage at Geo Woodstock for the second year in a row. Dave, last year at Geo Woodstock, we were on the main stage at the Bluegrass Museum, and we did it. And so we're excited. We've already discussed the topic. I'll tell you what it is. No secrets. We are discussing all 20 of the previous Geo Woodstock locations, and we're going to just talk about where geocaching or Geo Woodstock has been over the past 20 years.
So if you want to basically join up and come and see us live and be involved in our discussion as well in the podcast, come and see us 2 p.m. main stage Geo Woodstock. Be there because we're going to talk about the 20 Geo Woodstock locations. And if you, especially Josh, if you've been to several or one or two or three or all of the 20 Woodstocks before that, come, sit down and actually voice your opinion on the past Geo Woodstocks and let us know your opinion on what the last Geo Woodstocks were, the locations that they were at, what you enjoyed about them, etc., etc. So come and see us 2 p.m. main stage Geo Woodstock. Be there or be square, Josh.
And by the way, I am going to be there too, not just at Geo Woodstock, but Josh, I texted you and I was not joking. Given my television producer background, Fu Manchu has nominated me and just pretty much told me that I'm going to be the stage manager, right?
Yes. Yes.
So I'm going to make sure your podcast gets off on time.
Thank you. And you can help us make sure that that we can get our podcast into that soundboard so it actually sounds like our podcast. Because last year it was just kind of it didn't work very well. It was great live experience, but wasn't great re-listenability.
If we have any issues with the toilet system or backed up or anything, we've got Dirty Jobs Dave Barsky there to fix all those other feces issues too. So there you go.
So if you're thinking about going to Geo Woodstock, stop thinking about it and join us. It's going to be a big one. It's a Super Bowl. Dave, are there almost like 2,000 will attends? Are we
over 2,000?
Oh yeah, we're over 2,000 now.
So
for sure, it's going to be epic. It's such a nice town. I know you haven't been there, man. It's it's not a lot of people think Arizona hot and dry. This is on a mountain. Flagstaff is a mountain, and it's all in the pines. It is a beautiful place.
Yeah, that's amazing. And 2,000 will attends basically means there's going to be 3,000 people there because at least there's couple accounts and stuff like that. So we're really excited about it. Can you believe it, guys? I've never seen the Grand Canyon. I've never seen it. I went around I was at a dinner party and we were in January and we were going around like, what are you going to manifest in 2024? And all I said is that, guys, this is the year I see the Grand Canyon.
There you go.
Never seen it.
I haven't seen either, Josh.
You haven't?
Consolation. No, of course not.
Really?
I'm Australian. I've only been here for 2 years.
I thought you've been everywhere.
No. I've only got, what have I got now? 42 states up my sleeve. So that's all in 2 years.
That's pretty good, though.
That's not bad, is it? That's not bad. But anyway, Josh, let's talk about our Patreons too, because we want to see some Patreons out in Geo Woodstock. And if you're a Patreon, and come separately and see us as well, whenever you can, Josh, we might have to do something for the Patreons at Geo Woodstock.
We might.
We might have to.
We have to give them like a special, trackable or a hug.
Yeah, but a little. We might do a little meetup too, possibly. We'll see. We'll see. A meetup, a Patreon meetup.
We haven't even talked about this. This is like a live meeting. Okay,
exactly.
So, if you've been enjoying our podcast, we would really appreciate your support. By supporting us, you're helping us create even better content. Keep it free for everyone. No ads. So please consider joining us at patreon.com/treasures of our town.
That's cool. Now, Dave, before we get going with this one itself, mate, how can people find you if they want to find you, reach out to you, etc., and go from there?
Yeah, I don't do a lot of social media, but I do geocaching photographs and stuff, as you know, Craig, as you mentioned on my Instagram. I guess it's just at the Twonky. The Twonky. Is that is my handle, right?
Yeah, that's your handle, mate.
Think so.
Links are in the show notes anyway. So other than that, Josh, how can people contact us if they want to contact us?
Yes, please contact us so we don't feel like we're speaking into the void. This is so different than YouTube. Why can't there be comments for podcasts? There just isn't. So feel free to reach out to us at treasuresofourtownpodcast@gmail.com, or you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, and YouTube.
So that's our show for today. Please subscribe, rate, and review on your favorite podcasting app. And as always, Josh,
may your travels always lead you to the most unexpected and amazing hidden gems and sometimes dirty places around the world.
Peace.
See you next time. Thanks, Dave. Bye.
Thanks, Dave.
Thank you, guys. It was fun.